Let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about the hood. Let's talk about them gangs. Come on. That's in them penitentiaries for twisting their fingers. Let's talk about the hoovers, the Pyrus from looters. Let's talk about having some truces with trades and dudes. Come on. Let's talk about the racist shit and crooked politics. The government don't care about niggas, they love immigrants. Let's talk about my past. Let's talk about my pain. It's so hard to maintain wearing red flame. Let's talk about my thug. You know we had them drugs. Let's talk about that ghetto girl that betrayed my love. Let's talk about Farrakhan. Let's talk about the Bible. Let's talk about the Quran. Let's talk about Elijah. Let's talk about my daddy, my candy-coated caddy. Let's talk about my mama happy that she chose to have it. Let's talk about the kids. Let's talk about the blues. Tune into the Let's Talk Shop with that old school.
Welcome back to the channel. You Talking Shop with Old School. I have a special guest by the name of Mr. Obsidian, and he's going to talk to us about child support. Very informative information. Very informative. Now, child support, man, is something that's plaguing many men and fortunately, some women too. What's your take on
that? Yeah, it's finally getting around to where there's starting to get some equality in there, but that's just because they have to, because we started pitching up a fit.
Right.
So under equal protection of the law, they got to do something about that.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So that's when they bring in the other stuff that comes in and messes with you like that.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you believe or agree that child support is unconstitutional and it's unlawful?
I believe that I've established that probably 4 times now.
Okay. So Have you ever gotten anyone off of child support?
No, but I'm currently working on it.
Okay.
I'm currently working on 3 gentlemen right now. 3 gentlemen right now.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Let's say a person gets a letter in the mail from child support, the Title 4D loan. How should they respond to that?
Good question, Aguado.
What should they do?
Do not open their mail. It is not intended for you. It is intended for the 20 CFR 422-103D registered property of the Social Security Administration, which is the Social Security number.
Okay.
You're not the Social Security number, right? So that's the obligor, because under 42 United States Code 666A3C, the non-custodial parent Social Security number will be furnished to the agency, and that's giving the credence that that lends them the air that they're trying to say that the Social Security number is yours. You're not the non-custodial parent. You don't own that number. That belongs to the SSA. So don't open that mail, because that mail's not intended for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Okay.
That's intended for somebody else. If you open it, it's obstruction of mail carrier service. That's a felony.
Okay. So say they don't open it and then they start getting their wages garnished.
Don't open it. You send it back. Okay. But you send it back zip exempt. You got to learn the zip exempt process. It's real simple. There's a little thing you do with that. You can find that on Amin Osiris's channel, I'm sure. A couple other people got it too. So basically what you're doing is you're sending their service of process back to them. Okay. If you've already opened the mail, it can be detrimental. They will default you, right? But you can vacate an order of default. Just simply, filing your lawsuit. Just go ahead and file your lawsuit from that point, and that's the technique that we try to drive home, is that if you send back the mail initially and you don't go down for that paternity test, they have no legal claim on your income. Right. So that prevents this whole thing. If you can get people who aren't on it yet, who don't have a kid, maybe let them men know what the system is doing before they could ever have a chance to get involved with it. So when it comes up, they just don't accept. They're not accepting. No, and nothing says you have to.
I've heard people say they've sent the mail back, they didn't open it, and they had their license suspended.
Yeah,
Or
they might do something like that. The Supreme Court, I believe the Supreme Court of New York has ruled that the taking of a driver's license for child support is unconstitutional.
right,
Okay, I got to find the case law on that one. But you just apply Article 4, Section 1, and that would be the full faith and credit clause. Okay, so that means the judicial proceedings in one state are applicable in all other states, which
right.
means they can't take the driver's license. They have to give it back.
What about garnishing your wages? What does it?
Garnishing your wages is a form of peonage. That's a form of debt bondage, slavery, and involuntary servitude because they give you no choice because they'll issue a warrant for arrest. And if they can't get it for failure to pay child support obligation, what they'll do is they'll say, "Oh, you failed to appear."
Right,
Well, you can't fail to appear to a hearing that you were never informed of because the process got sent back to them. You didn't open it.
right, right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
if you did open it, well, that's just more fuel for your fire, actually. Because what you can do is you can take that document and break down how it's unlawful and unconstitutional on its face, and then enter that as an exhibit when you go to sue.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm,
yeah. So
mm.
that's how you probably reverse something like that because they might try to use that against you that you open the mail. Now you're consenting in some way, shape, or form. But it's also blackmail because they're sending threats through the mail. We're gonna garnish your wages. We're gonna come take your car. That's blackmail.
Right,
See what I'm saying? And
right.
contracts cannot cause crime to be committed, and
Correct.
they're under contract law.
Right. And
Yeah.
contracts have to be what's that? They have to be agreed upon by both parties.
Yes. You
And
have
that
to have a meeting of the minds. If there was no meeting
yes,
of the mind, that's not a valid contract. Like they did with me when they got me down in the parking lot and threatened me that I'd never see my son again if I didn't sign their document.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
hmm,
Well, guess what? That's duress.
right,
That's what
right,
that is. I
right,
didn't know at the time that I had to write under duress across my signature when I'm forced to sign something. Then it
right.
don't count. They can't count it.
Good point.
Mm-hmm. So
Um,
are you still on child support?
uh, technically, there's an ongoing case, but the thing of it is, it's not against me. It's against it's against the Social Security Administration property. But what I'm about to do is, I'm about to be filing my 42 USC 1983 lawsuit for deprivation of rights under color of state law. They do
Okay.
that under the state plan. They got a state plan for child support obligations that tells you that it's the state plan is the states come together, the state legislature comes together, or whoever's administering this in the state, they go to the secretary, right? And
Right.
they present the Secretary of Health and Human Services. So he takes the state plan and he either okays it or makes it go back to them and they have to redo it.
Okay.
Okay. So that's color of state law right there. That proves it because the state plan is what all the states are enforcing under. And it's federal law being enforced under the guise of state law. So that's color of state law. And if they deprive you of one right, now they owe you $250,000. And I would demand that the case be closed and any and all arrears need to be expunged away because that's a debt obligation. 42 USC 1994 says you can't be held in involuntary servitude for
Or debt.
labor to pay off a debt by your employer, which they do under their code. They force your employer to not be able to fire you, so it's peonage.
Right. So
And then
let
the
me ask
case law is Bailey, Alabama, for peonage.
you, isn't it illegal for one's employer to turn their private information over to the child support?
No, they give them immunity for that.
Mm, mm. But you can sue your employer for that, right?
No, you see the agency.
The
The
age.
agency gives your employer immunity. Yeah.
Mm,
They
mm.
do that with a couple other things too. They like to intercept taxes. I'm sorry, that's administrative law. Administrative law judge is who oversees child support. That'd be Holmberg versus Holmberg, Supreme Court case out of Minnesota. That
Right.
stated that uh, um a Minnesota child support statute had violated the separation of powers doctrine by allowing the executive branch to come in and practice law. And so that was unconstitutional. And then
Right.
Article 4, Section 1 says judicial proceedings in one state apply in all others. And then you go ahead and apply Marbury versus Madison that says an unconstitutional law is void. And then you go ahead and apply one more, and that'd be Norton versus Shelby County that says an unconstitutional law is completely void, the whole thing from the beginning.
Right.
Not when deemed so in a court of law, but when found to be. All you got to do is bring it to a court's attention to enforce it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, how likely would they be to enforce that?
You got the federal district court. If you file for a deprivation of your rights and you can prove that the state actor used the state law to violate your rights, it should be easy to do. Because that all falls under the state plan. They got to have one.
Right. Right.
And so that kind of closes them out. And then all you got to do after that point is list off your constitutional rights that violate it, which would be the 1st, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, I think is 13th, 14th, sometimes the 11th, if you can get them with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But you're gonna have to go into corpus juris secundum and stuff like that.
What about a person that's in 2 different states?
Yeah. So they got 18 USC 228 for that. That's failure to pay child support obligations. It only refers to when you cross state lines with the intent to avoid paying for a child that lives in another state. Well, if you're not doing that, it don't apply, and that's the felony charge. So the state's holding felony charge for failure non-support. You can't do that.
Yeah. What about if someone lives in a different state? And
that's diversity jurisdiction.
They get filed from somewhere else. Yeah. Yeah.
I would still go federal question because it's a question of the Constitution more than it is of the jurisdiction. You're questioning more along the lines of, hey, my rights were violated. You could go the other way. You could do diversity of citizenship. And that just depends. And they may apply those types of litigation that the judge is trying to figure out, as he's going through the case. But when you come in as a plaintiff, you ain't got to defend no more. No more filing motions. No more going down there requesting them. No more going to administrative hearings, because these are not courts of law, y'all. These are administrative courts. And the executive branch under our new administration under Donald Trump has told the ALJs that they're to follow the Constitution now. We're going back to the Republic. We're going to the Article 4, Section 4 Republic that we're supposed to be, where our constitutional rights are upheld. So there's going to be a lot of changes coming. But everybody's got to get on board with filing their civil rights lawsuits and all these things. The 42 USC 1983 is real easy. The form, I've got the form where it's stenciled out, so you know how to file federal question and how to go about placing your document into a position where you could just go file it. All you got to do is put in your information. Right. You already know what you're doing. Yeah. Because you got a template to look at while you're doing your shit.
Yeah. Got you. So go ahead.
So Bailey versus Alabama said that peonage is abolished. Congress said that peonage is abolished under 42 USC 1994. And then so did the executive branch under an executive order. So how that applies is the wage garnishment that they use under 31 USC 3720D, which is a violation of the separation of powers doctrine because it has verbiage in it that includes all 3 branches of government, which is an open and blatant violation. Okay. And then you got the words debt are included in there. So now it's a debt. So now the 42 USC 1994 applies because it renders the forced labor to pay off a debt, null and void. As for the warrant, you ever run into the cops, don't answer questions. I'm sorry, I don't answer questions every time they ask a question. If they're trying to demand that you provide identification, ask what crime has been committed. Do you have reasonable articulable suspicion to lend you probable cause to believe I've committed a crime in your presence?
Right.
Something to that effect. You know, your local PD is going to know who you are more than, you know, somewhere you just recently moved to or something along those lines. If you got money in the bank, take it out. They're going to levy that shit. They're going to levy that shit. And it's all commercial, so they'll do it with the full force of law outside of court, which is actually a violation of your due process rights. And
Now,
that's what they
with it being a debt, can't you challenge the validity of that debt the same way?
Yes, you can. Under their own statutes, they're supposed to give you an opportunity to challenge the validity of that debt. Correct.
Right.
That'd be under the wage garnishment code. Yeah.
Right. That's what's up.
But
Now,
you're going to want to go for the violation of your rights because peonage violates the 13th Amendment.
okay.
You can't be subjected to involuntary servitude unless you've committed a crime. Right. So they have to convict you of that crime first.
Right.
Which means you already got to be uptown in jail.
Right.
Or prison, more like. And the thing about that is debt labor contracts in prison are also abolished. So what they're doing is it's racketeering. And then it gets into criminal. I can go criminal. All of Title 18, Chapter 77, if you look through there and you pick out the ones that involve peonage and human trafficking, you're going to find that you can subject these suckers to a life sentence. What? You're going to find under 18 U.S.C. 242, if you tell them about the violation of your constitutional rights and you sue them and they continue, that's the death penalty.
What? No way.
If kidnapping results in the midst of that, if they come apprehend you and take you to their state administrative court hearings, because that's what these are, y'all. If you go down there, you are participating, and they're going to consider that participation. Once they consider that participation, then you've consented. Once you've consented to the contract, which signing the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity does, but you could disestablish that for fraud. And under 42 U.S.C. 1981, equal rights under the law, you have the optional right at any time under Section 3 of that law code to go ahead and relieve yourself and terminate any unwanted contract at any time.
Right. Now, as far as the DNA, do you have the right to deny?
You have the right to, you have the right to resist the capture of your physical biological property, your physical person, along with your identification card.
Yeah.
That's your corporation. That's your corporate body. If they take that, they're also messing with your Fourth Amendment. So they can't take your ID from you to ID you. They have to get it from you willingly. And if you don't give it to them, they can't run you through the system.
Well, you know, that doesn't really work too well for.
But what they do now is they got pictures, and they'll have the picture on the screen and they'll match it up to you.
Right.
But the thing is, you have to agree to be the name. If you don't agree to be the name, then they haven't identified you.
Got you. So.
And you do that just by not answering questions and by asking questions as a response.
Right. Now that is a good technique to use.
Kind of shuts them down a little bit, you know.
And I've heard that plenty of cases have been thrown out just on asking questions. You know, they can't really get you
because then they start slipping up on body cams and all this other stuff, man.
Yeah, right.
And if you let them know that they're committing peonage and they continue to take you to jail, yeah.
Now, how long have you been fighting? How long have you been fighting these people?
I've been advocating for other folks for about 4 years now.
Oh, so you're not
I
doing
haven't touched my case. I have not touched anything.
it?
I haven't touched it,
Okay.
and there's a reason for that. I'm waiting until I can get my computer so I can file my 1983. Once I file that, in my list of demands, I'm going to demand that they dismiss everything, take out the warrant. You're going to rescind all the orders. You're going to nullify all this because you're stepping on my rights now. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to bring them to a federal district court rather than their state administrative court, because that's a proper jurisdiction. If you look at 42 USC 660, they have a civil action to enforce child support obligations in federal district court. So it only surmises under the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause and equal protection of the law under 42 USC that you would also have that right to use that as well. The same with the 11th Amendment. They're gonna claim 11th Amendment immunity. I'm sorry, you don't get 11th Amendment immunity due to 42 United States Code 659B, and that states private person. They consent when it comes to wage withholding, all these administrative remedies. They consent to the agreement to its requirements applicable to private persons. And then if you look at down on the definitions at 659I4 of that same title, you're going to find the definition of a private person means somebody who does not have immunity to legal process.
Okay. All right.
So they can't claim immunity either under their own law.
Now let me ask you this: for those that are new to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have all of the legalese down pat, and they want to fight it by challenging the debt, like the way they do any other debt. What way would you say they go about that?
Interesting. I do have information on that. I can make a video on that. I haven't got quite to that yet. It should be under the 31 USC 3720D. It should be underneath of there. It should say all of the stuff you need to be able to inspect the debt and all that. It's all under Title 42. You'll find it if you look there. But when you're first coming out the gate, take your money out of the bank. You're going to need it. Your job, they're going to narc on you.
Yeah,
If you go to social welfare agencies other than the Social Security Administration, they're probably going to narc on you, because that's who they work for, is the HHS, man. You really don't want to interact with them in any way. You more or less want to challenge the debt completely on its face with the peonage statutes. So I've actually made a video on the 42 United States Code 1983. It's got it goes for about 15 seconds on each image.
Okay.
So you might have to stop and pause the video to look it over well. But it goes through each part of the statute, and I have highlighted the keywords for you to look up. And it'll explain to you everything. That video explains to you everything you need to know how to file. And then I've got how the documents should be presented. I'm working on a memorandum of law, so we can all use to really put them in their place across the board, and just be done with this for good, man. So I haven't touched my case because I'm trying to get rid of it for everybody. And so I've turned them into the president. And I've turned them into Congress, and I've turned them into every other government official other than the judicial branch. And that's where I'm going next. Got
you. So what's up next for you? What are you challenging? What are you challenging next?
This one's going to be, I'm going to get rid of the child support with my civil action, for deprivation of rights. I'm gonna get the awards can be up to $250,000, or it can be punitive depending on how violatory of your rights these individuals get. And as you can tell, your First Amendment right to familial association is violated, because as a man, you are deprived of your right to raise your child in the religion of its choosing due to the financial incentive to give to the primary caregiver presumption gives baby mama like the say so to have main custody by default. And
Gotcha.
that's deadbeats by default, or whatever they like to say, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna come in and hit them with that. Now you violated my familial association,
Right.
because now you're interjecting in my parental rights. Yeah, you've caused my child's mother to get into unjust enrichment, accepting the proceeds of extortion. So now baby mama's committing a felony. In order to stop that from happening to her, that's when you go ahead and don't pay the suckers. Don't let them garnish your wages, whatever you do. Okay. But
When
if
you
you
say
do,
let, when you say let,
that's the peonage. That's
when
where
you
you get
say
the peonage.
when you say let, how can you stop them from garnishing your wages?
Not letting them serve process in the first place. So
Not letting
when they
them.
doing their thing, trying to mail you, sue you, they bring that vanilla envelope and all that stuff.
Right.
You don't have to take that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know. You walk away. If they set it on the ground, you know what you do? You mail it back to them.
Hmm.
Certified.
Yeah, yeah. What about those that mailed it back to them but didn't fill it out and made a list of their own demands,
It could be
challenging?
possible they'll just ignore you in their jurisdiction. In the state courts, they like to ignore you and run over you.
Well, they
They
can't
like
do.
to use Rooker-Feldman doctrine and things like that.
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
stuff for that.
yeah. That's what's
I
up.
made sure to look up everything, man. Like I went deep. 4 years of 14 hours a day at this, man. And I ain't never stopped since it started.
Gotcha.
I ain't seen my kid in 4 years. Some stuff's about to change, man.
Wow, wow.
And
So,
the parents not pay rents, two different things. The parents that I have in my private group, man, the stories I've heard from all, man, this is a war zone for the family unit. Let me tell you something. Child support enforcement gets rid of the father. When you take the father out of the equation in the family unit, you sacrifice the things that make men and women unique and different. And you don't allow that. The state is not allowing that child to have that. So now we get things like the gender affirming care for minors and all this other stuff. That's where it's coming from. Is the family courts have caused a problem now. They've created a void in the family unit by removing the father. And
right,
you didn't know they did that, but they did that when you got married through the state.
right,
Because when you get married through the state, man, that's a contract with the state. State becomes in between you and your child's mother, and it's a triangle with the state up here, mama over here, and then you got you over here. And what happens is your part gets cut off from both the state and her. Over here's where your child is.
right,
Or up here if you both messed up somehow.
right, right,
Because the parents portray. They got to protect their citizens if like orphans, things like that. So
right,
here's the thing though. In order to avert all that, you get a common law marriage, you get a family Bible or a family and then you do it that way.
right.
Now you're making your own agreement. You're making your own contract. You make your own stipulations. You don't go to the state. Then the state can't even involve themselves in the business.
They can't involve themselves. Yeah, but you know what? I want to correct you on something. Uh,
And I could be wrong sometimes too.
no. Yeah. Far as your employee or employer giving away your information, it is actually unlawful.
Yeah, it
It's
is unlawful, but they
sort of
give
like,
them immunity. That's
yeah,
how
they
they get
can,
around
yeah,
it.
yeah, but you can actually sue your employer for doing such a thing. It's sort of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's sort of like in the doctor's office in hospitals. They have what you call a HIPAA violation. Whenever you
Oh
sign,
yeah. If
yeah,
you're doing
yeah,
that,
they
that
can't
works.
give any information and when you go to, whenever you go to orientation for a job, they have you fill out all of these paperwork. A lot of people just sign. I
Yeah,
read
and I
that.
was unaware of that too.
Yeah,
I
I
just
read that
had
shit.
seen
Yeah.
it give them immunity, but no, my bad. That's the bank. They give the bank immunity, not your employer. My
Mm,
bad. I
mm,
was wrong. Yeah, I
yeah.
made a mistake.
Because see, I remember at the company when I worked, I used to work for Tesla, and
Oh,
they give you, you sign paperwork stating that they tell you they won't give your information to anyone, and that's a
oh
violation.
yeah. If they issue one of those,
Yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah. So
violating privacy law.
yeah, they're violating privacy laws by doing that. You just got to know it. A lot of people don't know that. They don't pay
Yeah, and
attention.
they don't know, and that's how the criminals get away with
Yeah,
it. And
yeah,
they're in the government,
yeah,
and our government that we have now is trying to get rid of people like that.
yeah, yeah.
This is coming to a head. It ain't going away.
Oh yeah,
The train ain't stopping.
oh yeah, yeah. They
It's
doing a
Thomas the
little
Tank Engine. You gotta be Thomas the Tank Engine with them.
right. They doing a little something, but they not doing it fast enough.
Yeah,
They're not
yeah, yeah,
enough, because they got
yeah,
people out
yeah.
there, man.
Yeah,
That's
no, all this is completely unlawful. It violates federal criminal law. It violates state law. They use the state law, violate their own state law due to the Fed giving them a bribe to do that under the cooperative arrangement and the state plan and everything like that, man.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and all the state codes that are violating your rights, you can find even more color of law proof in those because that's state legislature, and if it comes in and violates your rights, it's void.
wow, wow, yeah. Well, where can the audience, where can they find you at, man? Give them your information.
You can find me at Adrian Black on Facebook. You can find me at Mr. Obsidian 8009 on YouTube. I do videos pretty fairly regularly. I've got a wealth of information. Like I say, I'm not infallible, but I have a lot of prowess and knowledge in this because what I've been doing is I've been teaching other people, and as they go along and bring more problems to me, that gives me knowledge.
Right,
See what I'm saying?
right,
So I learn from everybody that I've helped too.
right. That's what's up. Well, look here, man. Hopefully, we can have another sit down. I'm not gonna hold you too much
Yeah,
longer,
yeah.
but we got to.
And if you got something that is working, keep using it. Keep
That's what's
using it.
up. That's what's up. Y'all heard it from him. Now we got to get together again, man, and do a part two because I know you got a lot of information. I'm gonna
Hmm.
tap in with you, man, and keep fighting that good fight, man. And I'm gonna holler at you later. All right. You salute, man. Have a good one. Yeah, man. That child support ain't no joke. Especially if you don't know how to fight it. Especially if you don't know how to fight it. Now, I don't know about just sending it back. They get real aggressive, man. You got to know what you're doing on that. I ain't never heard nobody say that. It makes sense, but the way they get down, they'll just put you in default anyway, and you're going to end up fighting. So it's better for me, what I would think is to learn that information, man, and fight those people, man. Fight them back. I wouldn't say just, you know, mail it back to them because that's still a default. They default you for that. So, you know, but hey, it may work for some people. But comment, man, is y'all on that paperwork? What y'all think, man? Do y'all think that people are out here actually getting off on child support? First of all, no, you don't have to think. It is. People are getting off. But is it unconstitutional? Is it wrong? Uh, is it unfair? What do y'all think? Because now you got women. Women are on it, and a lot of times, me as a man, I speak for men. This channel is for men, and for those women that love men. Uh, a lot of times when I hear that a woman is facing child support, I don't have no sympathy. I don't have no sympathy because as many men get railroaded by that system, it's unfair, man. It's not right. But comment, man. Let me know what y'all think about this. And if you got a problem, put it in the comment. I'll get back at my man Obsidian and see what he thinks. And follow my man. He got a lot of information, I checked his channel out. I mean, he got all kind of stuff on there, so go check him out. And don't forget to comment and subscribe to this channel, man. And I'm gonna holler at y'all. Peace out.
Hey, love. Let's talk about it, man.